when we at Pet Harmony are talking about enrichment plans, that includes base care. That includes your pets eating and sleeping and snuggling if that is a thing that they enjoy and all of that. And so when we tell our clients you're probably doing more than you think you are, it's because they are doing more than they think they are because we're including that base care. It's not about having all of this like above and beyond stuff. If you are, like you said, Ellen, vacuuming more so that Griffey's allergies are in check, like that is a part of your enrichment plan, and we should commend you for that. Welcome to Enrichment for the Real World, the podcast devoted to improving the quality of life of pets and their people through enrichment. We are your hosts, Allie Bender.
And I'm Emily Strong.
And we are here to challenge and expand your view of what enrichment is, what enrichment can be, and what enrichment can do for you and the animals in your lives. Let's get started. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Enrichment for the Real World. And I want to thank you for rating, reviewing, and subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. Do you ever feel like you're not doing enough for your pet? You are not alone, and you're probably doing more than you think you are. Ellen and I unpack where enrichment guilt really comes from and how to quiet that never enough voice.
Do you ever feel inadequate for your dogs too?
Yes, literally all the time. And also, you've seen Oso's face. Like, nobody could ever judge me as hard as Oso and his little judgy face. And then if that wasn't bad enough, I also have Zorro, and turtles have perpetual resting judgy face. And it's not even resting, like their face it never changes. Like that's just their face. So like yes, not always, I often feel inadequate for my pets.
Yeah, I whenever I'm looking for feedback from individuals and I see that pause, I very genuinely can say, you don't have to worry about hurting my feelings because 9 times out of 10, I can swivel my chair and like is looking at me with the most, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed face, and it crumbles me to my very core.
There is nothing like the disappointed face of your dog who's just like, ugh, I know you're doing your best, but like it's not good enough.
Yeah. I think the thing that's important to remember, though, is that that is not, in fact, what their faces are saying. That is the story that we are projecting onto their faces. Primarily, welcome to the soapbox, friends. There are a lot of people in this world that benefit from you not feeling like you are enough. That is how you spend money. That is how you spend your time. That is how you spend your attention, is by people captivating you, by making you feel like you are not enough. People profit off of you feeling inadequate or like you are not enough.
Preach.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about untangling some of that, what we call enrichment guilt at Pet Harmony, and how to tell if it's helping you grow. Like it is an alarm bell that should indicate that maybe you need to either tune into yourself or to your pet, versus somebody somewhere is making a lot of money off of making people feel bad about themselves. And as a business, we're going to be transparent. It is really hard to sell services when your whole dedication is to empower instead of exploit people.
It's human psychology surrounding the sales process is really interesting and often sad. And I think we can get there. I'm gonna be optimistic. We can get there as a society, as a human race. We'll do it.
I have to tell you, in Pet Pro the other day, I was telling everybody how I was going to become a copywriter by the end of this year, and I was going to learn how to make an entire wardrobe of clothing. And one of our Pet Pro mentees said, that growth mindset has us delusional, doesn't it? I felt it, couldn't keep it together. And that's how I feel after what Allie just said.
Sorry, I'll like come back down to earth for now.
No,
Yeah.
I appreciate you. I think we could all use a little hope in these days. But to circle back, our goal is to not make people feel inadequate. This whole episode is about the fact that you're probably doing significantly better than you think you are. And you probably don't need more. You probably need less of all of the things to make it easier for you and your pet. And some of it is just when you're thrown at so many ways of these aesthetic or these expensive or these look at this new shiny, as someone who has bought a lot of new shinies for her dogs and then uses them twice and then packs them away and keeps going back to recycling boxes filled with treats. Sometimes it's not about any of those things. And I think the other thing that was that like aha moment for me, there are many aha moments, but the feminist survival podcast had an episode called Enough. And at the very beginning of it is, you should listen to the whole thing. The whole thing is great. The very beginning of it, though, they were talking about how, same thing I just said, people benefit from you feeling like you are not enough. But the hard thing is particularly as caregivers, we assume or we make this expectation or this promise to ourselves that if we were enough, all needs were going to be met. And the hard thing about that is you cannot meet all needs. Needs are ever going. They're always changing. The second you meet one need, another need is going to have to happen. And then you meet that need and it's going to cycle back. Needs are cyclical. And so there is no end point to the needs. But that doesn't mean that there's a failure on your part.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things as animal welfare caregivers, to go into the professional side for a moment, is we get stuck in the if cycle. I came from the sheltering world before I was in behavior, and it was like, well, if somebody who lives on a 20-acre farm, who never has a visitor, who doesn't want kids, who's going to live by themselves, but is also like young and active and going to go hiking in the mountain, like that was such a common and is common still in the sheltering world. That was such a common thing though of like, well, if that person exists, then this dog would thrive in that type of environment and whatever it is, not need meds or something. And so for me, a lot of letting go of the enrichment guilt had to start with accepting reality that like yes, maybe a person like that does exist, and also what are the odds of that person existing. And so that's something that I have had that conversation with my clients many, many times when we're talking specifically about medication, is they're like, well, if my schedule changed or whatever it is, if their current reality is no longer their current reality. And I'm like, yeah, what are the odds of that happening? Very low. Okay, medication is a way to bridge the ideal world and the real world. And so for me, when I think about enrichment guilt, it's okay, I have in my head what I would do in the ideal world. I don't live there. So let's scale back and look at what can I do in the real world in this current reality that I am living in.
Yeah, reality is a bummer sometimes. But I think that is important because I see both as a pet parent, I have those same. If I just had 30 more minutes a day, and it's not about 30 more minutes. I have 30 minutes. Time is actually not the issue. It's bandwidth, it's energy, it's all of the other things. It's the task switching between work and taking care of a home and taking care of my own gestures to whatever this biological form is, and being a good partner and being a good pet parent and all of those things. I can't do everything that I want to do, even if I had, it's not possible. And I see my clients do this often. And I typically want to get to a point where my clients in general constantly want to do more and more and more. And the issue isn't that more is going to make any difference. We need to do more in terms of time. We need to do more in terms of practice, but you can't practice more in a day. It's the long game. And so finding a place where you can get to the point and be really honest with one another. Do you feel like you need to do more because there are outside social pressures telling you that you're not doing enough? Or do you want to do more because you're genuinely invested and you would like to try something new for you and your pet? Are two wildly different things. I want to do a lot of things with my dogs because I see it looks like fun for other people. And it is not in the best interest of me or my dogs to pursue those activities, whatever they may be. What we typically do with a client, if we have a hard time identifying whether or not something different or new or more needs to happen, is we sometimes can ask the question, are you trying to do this because somebody's making you feel like you need to do more? If the answer is easily yes, then like we can reflect and see, is there validity to that by observing what is happening with the pet and the person? It's not only about the pet, what is happening with the pet and the caregiver with all of our senses and not with the stories that we have. So there are times where we are going to have to introduce a little bit more stress to one individual in this relationship in order to get over a hurdle. And knowing that, being forthcoming with that makes a huge difference for everyone.
And I think a part of that too is when we're recognizing our bandwidth limitations, is being able to prioritize becomes so much more important. So I mentioned in the last episode that I had an accident. I am mostly wheelchair bound at the moment, all of this sort of stuff. And that means what I can do for Oso has drastically changed. I was his primary caregiver up until a month and a half ago, and I no longer can be his primary caregiver, which means that my husband is having to learn how to do a lot of training things really quickly for him. And so for Oso, my reality has changed. I have to then change his enrichment strategy because my input has to be different. And my husband also has a full-time job and is taking care of me and all of the things. So he can't just like take on everything that I was doing with Oso. And so I really have to prioritize, well, what is the most important thing for us to be focusing on? And it's Oso's mobility. I have noticed since I was gone for a month, and I did notice when I came back a change in his mobility. Totally makes sense because the person who was primarily focused on it was no longer there. And I would not expect Alex to do all of those things while he's like with me in the hospital and all of the things, right?
Yeah.
So nobody's at fault. It just is what it is.
It's reality. Who's a bummer?
Yeah, it's reality. So for me, I'm like, okay, his mobility is the number one thing that I want to focus on. What can I still do? How can I modify what I do for him in order to do that? There are some things that I can do, like I can set up his cavalettis, I can do all of that. There are things that would be hard for me to do, mostly because I never generalize them to me sitting, like his spinning and backing up and all of that. I never generalize those cues to me sitting because I didn't think I would ever have to. Why would I? And so it's like, all right, I'll do some of this stuff. Alex can do some of that stuff. But if you were to ask Oso his priority, it's me being able to go into the backyard with him like we used to do on nice days, which I can't do. I can't go down my back stairs at all. I can't go outside by myself. And the look that he gives me is like, I don't know. Like he's like, you obviously don't love me anymore because we're not going outside. So, but again, that's total projection, but that also means that like other things that we do for him have had to be deprioritized. He used to go on an adventure walk with me once a week. I can't do that. Alex doesn't love it, so so it's no longer a big part of his enrichment strategy because I said mobility is the number one thing I care about. Everything else has to become less important in the next few months for us.
And that's hard. It's just hard
It's
because
hard.
you want to do more. You just can't. And that is sometimes a really hard thing to come to grips with.
Yeah. Yeah. And there have been many tear-filled, I feel like I'm letting him down and like all of this stuff, right? Like I am not immune to any of that.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it's like, this is what it is, and we're going to do what we can.
Mhm. I think the second part of that, there's a there It is hard for all pet parents. I want to acknowledge there's a secondary difficulty for pet professionals who are pet parents because I should do better, right? I should do more. My dog should be fine with this because I'm a professional and I help pet parents with this all the time. So it shouldn't be a problem for me. And those are all the mean voices that we need to tell to those are I can't use the language I want to use on
To
this
sit
podcast.
down.
That is one thing you could tell them to do. I think I got my point across without the language, but then I got distracted and this is what inhibition looks like. It really derails and takes a lot from you. Oh, I think the second part of that is getting that second opinion because I am thoroughly convinced there are many there the cutest one I can think of our one of our team members, Mary Kay, had gotten a new router and it was under her desk and she moves a lot when she works and she kept kicking the router and disconnecting her internet. And this happened for like almost 2 weeks, probably, until one day I was like, have you considered getting a shelf to put your router on? And she goes, no, I did not. Thank you for this. So I think that there is actually like a boundary to the problems that humans can solve for themselves. Not that I don't think that anyone is capable, none of those things. I think we're just all so bogged down in the life of everything that this is the way that it was, this is the way that works, so it needs to work now. And so getting that secondary opinion to say, no, you're doing a good job. We have tweaks. There's always room for improvement. If you have that kind of mindset, that is a mindset I have. I can always find a way to improve something. And just because I can doesn't mean I should or need to. And so sometimes for my clients, they come to me and it's the first initial consultation and they're expecting me to tell them to change their entire life and everything. And I'm like, no, no, actually, I want you to keep doing most of what you've got going on. Here are the ways that it's going to help us in the long run. And then, like, here are one or two tweaks that I'd like you to do. Or let's stop this altogether because you sound like you're having a terrible time. And I see no benefit to your pet. Like, we're not seeing objective benefit to your pet of doing this thing. And so for you, having those moments of I'm letting Oso down, this is not the life that I want with my dog, that's all valid. And then there's me who's on this other end watching him have a joyous time controlling his people opening and closing the door and the social engagement he gets from that and the wiggles when both of you laugh and the very cute like do you see me? I have no qualms that Oso's needs are met and it's okay if you want to meet more. It's all fine.
That brought me joy.
Put that as your glimmer for
That is
today.
my glimmer for today is oh so controlling us brings Ellen and therefore me joy.
It brings also joy too.
And oh so joy.
So good job,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you.
Um, One of the other takeaways from this, particularly, I'm going to say for everybody, but for pet professionals, and I'm going to switch the script a little bit, not necessarily thinking about their own pets, but for pet professionals who think they need to do more for their clients. Take a minute and breathe and pause and get some distance because we care a lot. Not that the pet parent doesn't care a lot. We all care a lot. We all care so much. Like take a second and then approach why you feel that you need to do more with some curiosity and see whether or not it is that you truly need to do more. Are you doing anybody a disservice or do you just feel responsible to do more? Is that an indication that your pet doesn't need more or your client needs more? It's an indication that you may need a little bit more from you. And one of the things I saw in Pet Pro recently, our mentorship program, was somebody who's having a really hard time and she's just going through it. Like life is 2025. Oh, is a lot for everybody, it seems. And she was expressing that she was having a hard time and she feels like a failure and all of the mean voices that come from any number of places. And she got an overwhelmingly like made me tear up response from the community. But one particular response said, I have been there. I have felt that way. I want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. Are you completing your stress response cycle? Do you need help in an accountability buddy to do the self-care that can help you be in a place that makes this a little bit easier to tackle. And then I just had to call it because that was going to be the highlight of the day. There was nothing that could peak after that. Like you just got to say, cool. These are the kinds of people to surround myself with.
One of the things that you touched on, but I want to really call it out, is the importance of meeting your own needs in order to meet somebody else's needs. We have the cliches, right? Of like you can't fill someone else's cup if yours isn't filled, and you have to put on somebody else's oxygen mask before your own and all of that. Like we have the cliches, right? But like they're real and true, and we shouldn't scoff at them because it's true. You do have to put on your own oxygen mask before you can help somebody else with theirs. And so, one of the things, if you are feeling a lot of enrichment guilt, like you're not doing enough for your pet, do a little self-assessment, like Ellen said, pause, breathe, and take a little inventory of your own needs and if you are doing okay, if you have your own needs met. Because a lot of times when I am feeling down on myself about what I can do for Oso, how much I'm doing for Oso, and this has been true my entire life, it's because something else is not going right. Something else is not okay in life. So one of the best things you can do is complete your stress response cycle. I think we've talked about that before on the podcast, but the Feminist Survival Project 20, what was it, 2020?
It was 2020, and now
It
I
was
think we're
2020.
in the feminist survival podcast zombie apocalypse edition, maybe the
Okay.
newest. Like, I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. It'll be in the show notes. That's where we got that phrasing from was from their podcast, and they also have the book Burnout. But complete your stress response cycle and then come back and see how you are doing and if you feel the same way.
I will just throw this out there for anyone who may be like me and hasn't clocked this yet. But when I feel as though I don't have a lot of control in the environment, the thing that I can control is my dog's enrichment plan. Which is funny because you know what I have even more control of? My own enrichment plan. But do I exert control there? No, I exert control of my dog's enrichment plan. So, like, you just watch me work that out in real time. We'll check back in a year and see if my behavior's changed. I don't know. But that is one of the ways that I exert control when I don't feel like I have a lot elsewhere.
Yeah, but as caregivers, we can't just focus on our own plan. We have to focus on somebody else's plan.
I have a lot of growing left to do. And you're right.
You know what helps? Break a bunch of bones, go into a hospital for a month, and don't be allowed to do anything else. I
I,
actually don't recommend that. Don't do that. You've broken enough bones.
I'm gonna say I think I've broken as many bones as you have, just not at the same time.
You gotta do it at the same time.
I
That's the trick. You gotta do it at the same time.
oh I
Y'all,
don't
I've made Ellen so uncomfortable. She is so uncomfortable with me joking about my
no,
accident.
I'm not uncomfortable with you joking. I appreciate dark humor. Whether that clocks as dark humor, I don't know. I think it's funny. I am just learning the boundaries of what you think is funny about your thing. So sometimes I come up with retorts and I'm like, that might be a little much. Maybe not that one.
No, I'd
Uh,
love to hear it. I'm excited.
no, I don't need any more people on my medical team going, you're kind of unique, aren't you? It's very validating and also you get over it after the fourth one. So anyway, if you find that maybe you're like me and you exert control over the world by exerting control over your dog's or your pet's enrichment plan, one of the things that helps me is to not pay attention to what I didn't do, but pay attention to what I did do. So I feed my dogs at a baseline twice a day. I medicate my dogs twice a day. We get multiple cuddle sessions. We get little play sessions throughout the day. If I am not entirely overwhelmed and breaking down, then I will do a midday sniff with them for treats all over the house. And I take them to the rehab vet sometimes, and I take care of their medical needs. And you can even go as small as I changed their water today. Because while that feels like nothing, it adds up. So my base care plan for my dogs takes probably between feeding changing water because of Griffey's allergies. That also includes vacuuming more than I want to and washing all of the fabric in the house, which is exhausting. It tallies up to probably 10 hours a week of just what I consider the base care. And throw that on top of the 8 hours you're supposed to sleep every day and the 8 hours of work and feeding my own body and caring for that. If you graph it out, it goes by fast.
I think that's a great reminder too that when we at Pet Harmony are talking about enrichment plans, that includes base care. That includes your pet's eating and sleeping and snuggling if that is a thing that they enjoy and all of that. And so when we tell our clients you're probably doing more than you think you are, it's because they are doing more than they think they are because we're including that base care. It's not about having all of this like above and beyond stuff. If you are, like you said, Ellen, vacuuming more so that Griffey's allergies are in check, like that is a part of your enrichment plan. And we should commend you for that. Good job vacuuming. I don't.
Let's be real, my partner does it.
Well, yeah,
The
same.
vacuum's overstimulating, and then that's not good for anybody in my house. I'm a sweeper when I don't have carpet. You can't sweep carpet very well.
Can't sweep carpet.
I think that's a really important reminder because we hear enrichment plan and we're thinking about everything. So we're thinking about everything that we are investing in the being in front of us, whether that is the pet or when we're working with clients, what I'm asking of my client. And I pay a lot of attention to the fact that my client is also a full human who has to take care of at least one human body on top of the pet that they are taking care of. And they also have to work and deal with all of the guilt from all of the people who benefit from them feeling like they're not enough. So if I can help one person feel like enough this week, it's been a really good week.
All right. So the moral of today's story is you are not failing your pet. Guilt is not a measurement of care, and you are probably doing better than you think you are. Don't let capitalism tell you otherwise. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if there's someone in your life who also needs to hear this, be sure to text it to them right now. If you're a pet parent looking for more tips on enrichment, behavior modification, and finding harmony with your pet, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Pet Harmony Training. If you're a behavior training professional dedicated to enrichment for yourself, your clients, and their pets, check us out on TikTok and Instagram at Pet Harmony Pro. As always, links to everything we discussed in this episode are in the show notes. Thank you to Ellen Yoakum for editing this episode and making us sound good. Our intro music is from Penguin Music on Pixabay. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. That helps more pet lovers and professionals find us so they can bring enrichment into their world too. Thank you for listening, and here's to harmony. Was that it? Did I do it?
I think you did it because what I don't need to yell is don't let the CEOs win.